Have you ever found yourself in a situation where you can understand English perfectly, but when it comes to speaking, you struggle to find the right words? In today's video, we will figure out why it happens and, most importantly, how to fix it. Hi everyone, you're welcome to my YouTube channel. I see Monvie. So let's start from the difference between input and output. The main reason here, you understand everything, even those unknown phrases and words in series or in videos, because you hear them in context, and this why for you it's easier to get the meaning. But it doesn't mean that you really learn them and you will recall them when you will need them. And when you speak, you can use only that vocab that you have in your brain, so you can't come up with anything else. Also, by constant consuming of content, you're just not used to speak, because for you it's something unknown, something rare, or even if you can speak, but you just need to overthink everything before you will give a response to another person. There are two things: input and output. Input is everything that you consume by watching, listening, and reading. All those series, books, and songs, they are all input. For sure, without them, you will not be able to learn a language. In order to speak and overall to use this language, you need to have tools like vocab, grammar, etc. And you can get that only from input. And there is another thing, output. It's all about speaking and writing. This is what actually improves your language when you start using all of your knowledge that you already have on practice. Input and output, they are connected. So if you will focus on something one specifically, you will lose this balance. That's why when you have already been learning English for several months, you need to focus on output more, because you already have all the necessary information, all the basics. So you need to start finally using them. Meantime, beginners should focus on input because they need to gain knowledge. So it actually depends on the stage of your learning and your level. Actually, I found out a nice strategy to balance these two things, input and output. During each my learning session, I have something from output and something from input. For example, listening and speaking, reading and writing. And now let's move to the tips. Reading aloud. I advise you to start doing this from the first days of learning. By reading aloud, firstly, you can get used to your voice in English, because it's the same thing as speaking, but here you just look at the text and you read. In a couple of days, your voice will be natural because you will know how you sound. It's a first step before starting to speak. Secondly, during reading aloud, you have an opportunity to notice all of these pronunciational nuances. So actually, you improve your English. Also, such a nice tip. You can start recording yourself when you read aloud. By this, you'll be able to track all of your mistakes, because when you read, not always you can notice these mistakes. But by listening your recording, you will notice everything. So it's really a nice practice. And also, you will be able to monitor your progress. You will compare your old records to your new ones. Reading aloud, it's such a nice tool because it helps with a lot of things. Pronunciation. When you read aloud, you can pay attention to all the problematic sounds that you have. If you don't read fast, for sure, because if you're focused on speed, you will not be able to notice neither pronunciation nor context overall. Also, you can notice new words in this text and afterwards learn them, but it's important to revise them and learn them after this reading practice, because just by reading you don't learn anything, especially vocab. And now a logic question: what I have to read? If you have an opportunity to buy real paper books in English, go on. But if you don't have, there are plenty of ways how you can do that. You can read something online. Just find articles on topics that you are interested in. Also, you can read Reddit or Quora. I mostly read this, but I recommend you to do this when you already have an intermediate level, because people there not all of them are natives, so they can make mistakes. Daily speaking practice. Usually, my speaking practice includes, firstly, speaking to myself and of course, speaking to other people. Mostly, I speak with other people because it's more interesting than just talking to yourself all the time. And by talking to other people, I improve my English much more than just by talking to myself. Because in this situation, I can listen to another person. I talk to people online on Discord. There you can talk to people all around the world and not necessarily natives. I think that it's not that important to speak with natives in order to learn a language. Of course, if you have an online friend, go on. But what I've noticed on these exchange websites that firstly, there are not so many natives because they don't need to improve their English. It's their native language. So what's the reason of that? And secondly, most of the natives are not interested in talking to non-natives because it requires patience. Just think about this. For example, English is your native language and you just wanna communicate with another person, but this person doesn't know English that well. So your communication becomes a learning lesson when you just correct this person, and yeah, like it's not that cool. So the best way to improve your English is actually to talk to people for whom it's a foreign language, but they speak fluently, so they have a pretty high level. Because if you will talk to an absolute beginner in English, you know, like you will replace this place of natives. You are not at the same level and you will just teach this person English and you will not improve your English at all. So look for those people who speak fluently and their pronunciation is really good. And to notice an actual progress in your speaking, you can do that by recording yourself. As you've already understood, I really like recording myself because you can record yourself when you speak, when you read, and after that you can just analyze everything that you said and read. You will notice mistakes that you constantly make, phrases that you can't recall, and all this stuff. Improving vocabulary. Lack of vocab is one more reason why you can't speak fluently. You understand it, but you don't use it because your brain doesn't have such a task to learn it. You can't construct a normal sentence just because you don't have enough words. That's why it's so important to expand it. It's like with grammar, you need tools to speak and vocab is your another tool. Now the only way how I learn new vocab is just by living and noticing words around me. Of course, by listening and reading. I'm not doing like before, just learning this huge list with words that I will forget in 5 minutes. So by this, I merely spend time on adding them to flashcards. When you talk to someone in English, when you read, watch a series, you can use all of these for expanding your vocab. I have a separate folder in my flashcards app for the words that I just notice. I don't learn them deliberately. They just naturally come to my life by listening, reading, and all this stuff. But actually, I have something around 20 folders with words, and yeah, like each folder has at least 60 words. That is so funny. Did I really expect that I would be able to learn all of this and recall whenever I need it? Okay, for sure, it depends on your level. If you understand English, it means that your level is pretty high. But still, if you're watching a movie and you come across an unknown word and you think that maybe in the future you will use it, it's better to write it down and learn, even though you get its meaning from the context. As I've already said, if you understand something, it doesn't mean that you will use it fluently in your speech. You will be able just to recognize it, but when it will come to speaking, you will not recall it. Take it from me. And how you can incorporate new vocab into your speech in order finally to speak fluently. I incorporate it by this method. When I talk to someone online, I can make a list of words which I want to remember better and use them during speech several times. It can be 5 or 10 words, it's up to you. By this, you will for sure remember it. But what's more important, the more times you use this word in context, the better you remember it. Learning grammar. I know some people can say, like, what? Learning grammar for speaking? Are you sure? These two things aren't even connected. Okay, but how are you going to make sentences without even knowing grammar rules? Just how? If you get everything in English by here, it doesn't mean that when it will come to speaking, you'll make these sentences easily. Because you don't know the rule, you will not know why do you need to make this sentence specifically in this way. You don't have to learn all the 12 grammar tenses in English if you don't want. Because personally, I use only 7 of them on a regular basis. But without this knowledge, you will not go so far in English. Also, you don't need to spend all of your time on browsing grammar books. There are plenty of other interesting methods. So, how you can learn grammar in an interesting way? Firstly, you don't need any grammar books unless you really wanna read them, it's up to you. Secondly, the only thing you need is internet. There are such websites as, I forgot their names, but here you will find them. There you can find explanations, examples, usage, etc. And why do you think that this method is better than just browsing grammar books? On these websites, you will not find all that unnecessary information. Also, if for you it's still boring, you can ask ChatGPT, my lovely friend. It can explain you a certain tense, compare two tenses, and even come up with exercises. And as for practice all of these grammar rules, one more time, websites or ChatGPT, it's up to you. To be frank, sometimes ChatGPT irritates me with not such an accurate response, so I visit other websites. You can just browse present perfect exercises and you'll find plenty of pages with this. As you can see, even grammar can be interesting to learn. The only thing that matters is a way how you learn it, and it counts not only to grammar but to all of the things that you learn. Describing your day. This can be a first step to your fluent speaking in English. Of course, after reading aloud, because everything starts from reading. You can describe your day, for example, just by retelling to yourself everything that you did today, what interesting happened, describe specifically each task that you did, where have you been, etc. Try to add words from your flashcards and use them during describing your day. I advise to describe your day with vocab that you already have without using translator, because by looking at translation of a certain word, you don't learn it. If you can't recall a specific word, it's always better to describe this word with another words. By this, you really improve your English, not just by checking every word in translator. Describing your day will help you with your conversational English, because you talk about daily things. We all have some plans in our life, something is going on, so by this it will be easier for you to talk to other people. That's all for today, guys. Thanks for watching this video. If you found it helpful, give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. See you soon in my next videos. Bye.